So I'm going to start a radio show, and it's going to feature the best new music, which needs to be supported, this new garage rock. And in the 2 hours, I will play about a third of the new music, and in the other 2/3, provide a context for it by playing all 60 years of rock and roll. Now, this was quite a radical idea at the time, because no one had ever played old with the new. It was not something that was cool in America, especially. I think actually in Europe it's a little bit more accepted, but the conventional wisdom in America was old people don't like young music, young people don't like old music. Period, end of story. And when you said, no, that's just not true when it comes to real rock and roll. Real rock and roll is timeless, and so we proved that with the radio show, and became very successful. We had to fight our way on. It took a year to get on 20 stations, 20 cities, and at the time there was no national radio. That's a fairly new trend in America. It was satellite. But, so a year after Sopranos' first season, which was the most acclaimed TV show maybe ever, and Bruce decided to do a reunion tour with E Street Band. So I had some celebrity capital back, and everyone in the country turned my show down. Nobody wanted it. Nobody. They were afraid of what is this,
So even after the reunion,
yes.
after the announcement, after you playing
Yes.
in Sopranos?
Yes. I sent the show to 300 stations.
But why?
300 stations turned it down.
What did they tell you?
They said...
You're an actor now, you can't be involved with music?
No. Strictly about the fact that it was not what they called familiar enough music.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind, I'm going to the biggest stations in America, and I'm on the biggest stations now. And they're classic rock, and they don't play new music, tragically. And they tend to play just a few records, They play 300, 400, 500 records, And, so I would sometimes play familiar bands, I'm playing The Who, they play The Who, only I play the first 2 albums. They'll occasionally play the Kinks, but I play the first 5 albums, Stones, I play the first 5 albums. The Beatles, I play the first 5 albums, and so there were some familiar groups that they would play, but mostly it was not what they called familiar, what I call the F word, which is familiar. And I just argued that when I grew up, there was no such thing as familiar. There was no such thing as classic rock. And we didn't run away when we heard a new record on the radio.
So what was the turning point then for them? What was the turning point?
The turning point was I stopped talking to the programming people and started talking to the general managers and said to them, listen, because it occurred to me that I was not going to win that way. I was not going to win the argument musically. Mm-hmm. So I stopped and said, wait a minute. I live in America. What's America about? America's about money. So I started talking to the money people. And I said, listen, I'm going to come and I'm going to play in your town. And in every arena, there's what you call luxury boxes all around the top. That's how they make, And in those luxury boxes are going to be your sponsors. I guarantee you I could sell out my radio show